call. I'll be doing the first portion of this call. The second portion is going to be featuring one of my best friends. Her name is Madeline Maldonado. She is phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. I'll get into how we met a little bit later on in this call, but she is one of New York's top licensed clinical social workers. She is a university professor at 2 universities. She has her own behavioral health practice out in the Bronx. And she's somebody that's going to come in a little bit later on in this session, and then she'll have a little Q&A. So if you have any questions regarding mental health, perspective, mindset, like please be sure to submit them in the chat box. She'll be taking some questions. She'll probably be speaking about a few things in regards to mental health. So I really strongly offer up that if you don't have a notebook already, to go and grab one. And I will be speaking on a few things, but in specific, this is the series called Don't Talk to Me That Way. This is part 4. And I'm super excited because I think it's going to be the last installment of this series. Now, the first installment was about integrity, about how our word is our bond and how our actions can either make or break those bonds. And then our second series, or our second episode, was the constant complaint, where we focused on situations, scenarios, people, things that we're attached to and that we complain about. But for whatever reason, those things have been in existence for so long. And that subconsciously, just maybe subconsciously, we may have been taking on those situations for way longer because there was a benefit in taking them. Last week, I spoke on self-talk. And in specific, it was how our words affect our self-perception and our self-worth, and then therefore our reality, right? Now, tonight is going to be a little bit different, where I'm going to be really focusing on the topic of creating. Meaning, there's this quote that I always reference, and it says, "The power of life and death is in the tongue." The power of life and death is in the tongue. Now, just for clarity, every time I've heard this quote, every time I've heard that saying, I've always thought about how positive and negative words can literally affect everything. That if we want life, we got to speak positively. If we, for lack of a better term, want negativity, we would speak negatively. But as I was preparing for this call, and I was like really thinking about what I wanted to talk about, this quote kept coming up to me, specifically in the morning. And I started thinking to myself, maybe there's more to this quote. Maybe there's more to just it being so black and white. Maybe, just maybe, that this quote is actually saying that for life to occur, or for something new to be created, something has to die. Maybe, just maybe, the new version of you has to be born from the old version of you no longer existing. Maybe that bank account that you want with all the zeros at the end can only come into existence when you walk away from the job that you don't like, that's been paying you the same rate for the past few years. Maybe, just maybe, the old you, the old thing, has to die for something new to be created. Maybe, just maybe, that relationship that you want, whether it is a romantic relationship or a friendship or a partnership, maybe that new business, maybe that new body, maybe that new mindset requires the old version of who you are, that old relationship, that old level of operation, that old level of managing your finances has to literally die for that new version of whatever it is that you want to be born. maybe. And the reason that I wanted to focus on creation or creating is because a lot of what we say affects, actually everything that we say affects everything around us. I was struggling this morning because there's two situations that I keep kind of like vaguely referencing on these calls from January. And this morning I was like, Pepz, what is it that you want? Like, what is the thing that you really, really want out of these situations? And then I answered myself and I was like, okay, if that is what I want to create, then I have to destroy all other options. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. By definition, creation means the action or the process of bringing something into existence. Creation, by definition, means the action or process of bringing something into existence. Destroy, the word destroy, by definition means to put out of existence. It's kind of like, I don't know the exact wording for this law of physics, but energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only be transformed. I maybe want to submit that maybe that transformation requires the destruction of something old. And from that old, from that thing that is dying, something new can be birthed. Something new, something better, something bigger. And I realized that for this call, there's a few things about creating and existing and just continuing forward with our dreams and with our goals that needs to actually transpire. First and foremost is getting clear, like getting really, 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 really clear as to what it is that you want, how much money you want, what you want to look like physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. Getting clear as to the type of person that you want to be. There are some people that I coach personally on these calls. And one thing that I have them do is I have them do a 5-year exercise where you literally meditate 5 years into the future to see exactly what you want to create. And then having that clarity, reverse engineer everything else. Because once you have clarity, you can persist. You can literally persist on those goals, on those dreams. You can literally move forward on sculpting your body to look a certain way. You can move forward in transforming your finances to look a certain way. You can move forward in becoming the type of artist, the type of dancer, the type of parent, the type of business person, just the type of person in general that you want to be once you have clarity as to who it is that you want to become. But with persistence, you also need to be able to believe. Because I personally believe that persistence is only a byproduct of your belief. And the level of your persistence is going to be determined by the level of your belief. And I say that that is very, very important because so many people have dreams that they don't really see through to the end. They'll get started in the business for a few months, maybe a year, doesn't work out, they'll stop. They'll start pursuing a dream in entertainment and law and medicine. I have family members who are older than me and they're like, wow, you're actually really like making it happen. Like, and I love that they say that, but it also makes me a little bit sad because I was like, it was also, and it still is so possible for them as well. It is still so possible for them, for you to have your dreams. Even me, there's still so many dreams that I'm still working towards, but I believe that they're possible. I know that they're possible, but because I know that they're possible and I believe that they're possible, every time I think about something, I'm determined to get it done. And I'm only able to get it done and persist in getting it done because I believe. Now, the thing about belief and persistence is that you can't have persistence without belief, but you can't have belief unless you know what you want. Even if your belief level is this small, it can grow. It can really, really, really grow. And I don't want to spend too much time on getting clarity. I don't want to spend too much time on getting persistent or how to be more persistent or what that even looks like. I actually just want to focus on, for my portion of this call, which I only have like 5-10 minutes, on building up your belief level. Because even if you have this little level of belief, just a small, tiny little level of belief, that can be nurtured into something way bigger, into something that can literally transform everything and anything around you. I started dancing when I was like 20, 21. I'm now like 31 years old. And trust me, a 21-year-old trying to dance without any experience in the entertainment industry is not for the faint of heart. And thankfully, I never thought I was a bad dancer. Contrary to the external physical realm of my dance ability, when I first started dancing, I never thought I was a bad dancer. I saw myself as a great dancer. I was like, maybe not right now, but I see myself dancing proficiently, professionally, and loving what I do. And that's the first thing that I want to start with building up your belief system, is remembering the dream and the vision that you once had, the first dream, the first vision. You were growing up and you saw yourself being an artist, and then you start drawing or painting or singing or whatever kind of art it is that you do, and you're like, oh my God, it's actually hard. Here's the thing. I personally have this idea about dreams, that from when I think dreams legitimately do come from God. And I do think that these dreams that we receive are kind of like the last scene of the movie, or like the part of the movie where everything like starts kicking into high gear. But where we're at is like the beginning. It's like, okay, I see the vision, don't really know how to do that. I see myself wealthy, I'm broke, I don't have a job, I'm in this business that's not really doing anything right now. I see it, but I'm so far away from that. And then we get focused on the reality of where we're at, and that stifles so many of us. But if you hold on to the actual vision that you had when you first saw yourself doing what it is you saw yourself doing, or having whatever it is that you saw yourself having, that first portion of remembering that is what you need to start building up your belief system. Secondly, finding your why. When I first decided I want to be an entertainer, I was probably like 5, because my mom always tells me, she was like, since you were 5, you're always like, I want to be an actor, I want to perform, you want to do this. She was like, you've been saying that since you were 5. And I think the reason being was honestly because I had fun with it. I loved pretending I was on stage. I loved pretending that I was an actor in a movie. I loved pretending that I was like chasing spies and like this like action thriller drama that I was acting out with my sisters. Like I loved pretending that was my life. And my why initially for everything in entertainment was because it was fun. I started dancing because I would literally go out and turn up with my friends, and people are like, oh my God, you're such a great dancer. You're a professional. I was like, I don't even know what a professional dancer was at the time. And then when I started dancing, I wasn't the greatest. I wasn't even good, but I had fun with it. Literally, I remember booking so many great jobs in less than 2 months of me training, probably because I had so much fun with me dancing. And that was my initial why, that I just wanted to have fun doing what I wanted to do. But with life, everything kind of evolves. Actually not, but everything does evolve. That why of me having fun, what is no longer sustainable for me to be in an industry where checks are late, people are unstable, people are literally so cutthroat, or you're putting your body through all the crazy trials and tribulations physically that affect you emotionally and financially and mentally, that why of having fun is no longer enough. So my third point is expanding your why. One of the reasons that I continue to perform and why I decided to get back into public speaking is because a lot of people would tell me that what I do, whether it's me on stage as an artist or as a speaker, or me training people on how to learn how to trade proficiently, is because they feel that because I'm doing it, that it is possible for them. So that why isn't so much because they tell me that it's possible for them, but because I feel that what I do and how I operate, and it's not me bragging or boasting, can affect other people's connections to what it is that they are called to do as well. So my additional or expanded why is mostly connected to the other people that may need that little push, or seeing somebody else pursuing their dreams to just inspire them a little bit more to do something a little bit bigger or a little bit differently. So just to quickly recap so far, remembering the initial vision, the initial dream. Secondly, finding your why. For me, it was just, I want to perform because it's fun. Got into trading because I wanted to make money, kid you not. Now I'm excited that I'm able to help other people learn how to make money. So that became my expanded why for trading. The fourth thing is taking action / building up a habit. I honestly feel that the main thing that solidified what I do now is that I did it. I was like, I see myself as a dancer, but I'm not dancing. So am I really a dancer if I'm not dancing? No. I see myself becoming a millionaire, but I'm doing nothing differently financially. Am I ever going to get close to becoming a millionaire if I don't change anything or do anything differently? No. So the fourth thing is actually taking the action. I was like, well, if I see myself as a dancer, then we need to start hitting steps. We need to start going to dance classes. We need to start surrounding ourselves with that environment, that community, that skill set, that world of dancing. And for a few years, I literally just dove in straight into dance. And that action, or taking the action of dancing, and me even starting to sing at the age of 25, starting to model at the age of like 27, like that solidified the dreams. Am I still building up the dreams to where I want them to go? Absolutely. But nobody can tell me I'm not any one of those things because I am doing it. People hate on people like Jennifer Lopez or Mariah Carey, or even people like Beyonce, The Weeknd, like Billie Eilish, like so many people, because to some other people, they're not great, or they're different, or they're like, J-Lo can't sing, or Britney lost her ability to dance, or Mariah Carey sounds crazy, or The Weeknd is boring at the halftime. He shouldn't be singing. He shouldn't be performing. He shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be speaking. Oh, he's not a six-figure trader just yet. He shouldn't be trading. To me, that's a hater. And I feel like people hate on other people because those people are doing the things that they decided to do. And probably, I believe that the hater person wasting all this energy and time telling somebody else what they should and shouldn't be doing is because they're not doing what they should be doing for themselves. Period. End of story. Whenever I feel like, damn, I'm like, they're booking that dance job. And I'm like, first of all, check yourself, because they're booking that dance job because they're dancing. I can't be mad at somebody having the results that I want when I'm doing the work that is required to have those results. Nobody can be mad at somebody else having the results somebody else is having because they're doing the work. Even if it's just God's grace, giving them that blessing, that opportunity, nobody can be mad on anybody else if you know that you're doing the best that you possibly can. You may be frustrated, you may be tired, you may be over it, but you should not be hating on anybody else if you know that you're doing the best that you possibly can. Because the person that is working diligently with focus and with intention has no time and no energy to hate on anybody else. And if You find yourself doing that, then maybe ask yourself, what is it that I'm not doing that I know I should be doing to actually focus on me, have my own results, instead of worrying what A, B, C, and D person is having? Because there's plenty of room for everybody to be successful. Last thing about building up your belief system, it's training your mind. And last, I've been speaking about this kind of like here and there through the series, but training your mind. Last week we talked about self-talk. So the first portion of training your mind is replacing your negative self-talk with positive self-talk. I'm not going to go into too many details because then we'll be here till like next week about self-talk, and that was last week's topic. But literally understanding how you're thinking to recondition your habits mentally into new habits. I gave you a tactic from last week, which was getting a rubber band, and every time you think of yourself negatively, snap it and change the thought process. Secondly, using affirmations and visual cues. Some of my affirmations that I gave out last week were, I always have a choice. I am an unrepeatable miracle, right? I am an unrepeatable miracle. Or the universe is rearranging itself in my favor. Or lucrative and boundless opportunities always come my way. Or I am seen, I am valued. Like, you can literally make an affirmation out of a problem. If you feel like nobody values you, change it, because if you're saying that to yourself, that is going to be the reality that you're going to be creating. So sometimes you literally have to think it into existence. And other visual cues would be like vision boards. You don't even need a physical vision board. You can literally make a collage on your phone and make that your screensaver. Literally having these visual cues. One of the things that I've been doing for years is I set reminders on my phone every day, 2 p.m., 8 p.m. The reminders say, is what I'm currently doing in support of my dreams. Second one is, the universe is rearranging itself in my favor. Literally have those two reminders go off day by day, 2 p.m., 8 p.m. Is what I'm doing in support of my dreams, and the universe is rearranging itself in my favor. Little things like that, these little visual cues will literally carry you through those moments, right? Then another thing that we also need to focus on is our surroundings. Literally our surroundings, our environment. And specifically, the people that we allow to feed our brains. And not even that we allow, but that we go to. We all have those friends that we go to vent. We have those friends that we kind of like bring them a problem that we kind of know what we want to do, but we go to them to ask for permission versus to ask for feedback. And sometimes, so often, the people that we want around us are the ones that should be speaking life into us, but those are not the people that we entertain. And by life, I don't mean like these yes men or these yes people. By life, I may mean that friend that may tell you straight up, you are not operating to your fullest potential, you're slacking. Sometimes life is literally a slap in the face to literally check you. And I think also on that note, so many people get so offended by honest feedback that isn't even hurtful, just honest, constructive feedback in this day and age. And that is one thing that just in general, I credit my friends like Madeline, who's on this call. She'll give me honest feedback, lovingly, but honest feedback. She'll be like, this is what it feels like you're doing. Why are you doing this? And the honest feedback isn't to like check my ego or to like make me feel some type of way or to like belittle me, but that honest feedback is important, because if you really want to grow, you cannot do so by yourself, right? And the thing about growth, to be completely honest, is like growth in anything, in your belief level, in your self-talk, in your career, and even in your fitness. I'm currently doing like this fitness routine that is killing me. But in this fitness routine, my trainer told me, he was like, there's going to be days where you literally are not going to want to get out of bed. He was like, you're going to be tired, you're going to be sore, you're going to be over it, you're going to be tired of eating 5,000 calories, because mentally you are tapped out. But the thing with growth, kind of like a plant, is like you have to grow through the dirt, like literally grow through the dirt. And I think it's Les Brown who talks about the bamboo tree or the bamboo plant, that it takes like, I think it's 6 years for it to like fully blossom, but it spends like 5 years underneath the dirt. And it's like in that last year, it finally like breaks through. Literally that process of breaking through, going up, is where you meet the most resistance. And that process of breaking through, of that resistance, of that struggle, even in you deciding to pursue that vision, that is that dirt that we're under. Like that dream is like the end byproduct of the work, of the hustling, of the countless affirmations, of the countless days where you're like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm even doing anymore. That vision, that dream is the end result of that. But I promise you, if you allow yourself to tap in to the process and surrounding yourself with people who will either hold you accountable or coach you through it, you'll be able to get that much further ahead. And sometimes those people are not the people that we grow up with. Sometimes those people are not the people at our workplace. Sometimes the people that will literally coach us through them could be somebody on YouTube or on SoundCloud that you don't even know. Because you have to literally reprogram and recondition your mind to think in an entirely different way. And I actually want to start transitioning over to Miss Madeline Maldonado, because one thing about Madeline is that she is one of the people who is so powerful, not even just in what she does, but in who she is. She's one of the people that, as a social worker, as a professor, as a friend, she is somebody that is incredibly astute, and not even just in the words that she uses, but in how she even connects with people. So Madeline, if you can take the floor, that would be great.
Thanks, Pepz. Hi, everyone. I'm listening to you talk tonight, and what keeps coming to my mind is this excerpt from one of Brene Brown's speeches on vulnerability. And she talked about how you cannot let the people in the cheap seats determine how you play the game. And that's what a lot of us do. We let the people all the way, at the top in the bleachers tell us how we're gonna, what kind of day we're gonna have, how we're gonna make decisions that impact our life, whether it's with work or whether it's with our relationships or just in our thinking. You could be having an amazing day and someone tells you they don't like the perfume you're wearing, and that could be enough to ruin your day. Somebody could just tell you, what's wrong with you? You look tired, and that's enough to ruin your day. And we're right now in a crisis in the United States, because this has become, I live and work in New York, but it's become something nationwide where people's emotional well-being is really fragile right now. And I know, like in June, they had done these surveys, and this was, 7 months ago. Something like 55% of Americans were saying that their mental health was affected by COVID. By September, we were somewhere in like 70%. And so I'm like, that's basically almost every other person that you run into or that you know has had their mental health be impacted enough that they would answer yes questions in a survey enough to score positive. And so I've been thinking a lot about this, and a lot of the work that I've been doing in the last 6 or 7 months with my clients and my students is really trying to pinpoint what is the psychology of winning, of performing. There's a way to play the game. And again, I'm not a sports person, so anybody who loves sports, forgive me because I'm going to get all the metaphors wrong. But there's something about the way that certain athletes, certain artists, certain politicians, certain people play this game of life that truly makes them exceptional and gets them exceptional results. That's why you have people like a Tony Robbins. That's why you have someone like Jennifer Lopez, who, whether you feel she's the most talented or not, you cannot deny that she is playing this game to win. There's a psychology to the way that they approach things. And so, one of the things that you mentioned that, in the world of psychology and social work and mental health, we call this the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy. But basically, it's thoughts affect feelings, affect behaviors. You could look at it as a circle or as a triangle, that you kind of like ping pong the ball around. Thoughts affect feelings, affect behaviors. And here we go again with the cycle. So what you think to yourself creates emotions. It creates, well, positive, negative, happy, sad, just the full range of emotions in you. And not having awareness that your thoughts actually create changes in your emotional state is the first step in teaching someone in cognitive behavioral therapy how to start taking control. Someone who's very depressed or anxious, usually at the core of that is a lack of awareness about their thoughts, their feelings, and how it's impacting their actions. A lot of people think that life happens to them. It doesn't. Now, none of us are in control. Things do happen to us, but it's how you feel, how you perceive what happened to you that determines the story. I'll share something. I know someone who was not raised by his parents, had a very hard life in the Dominican Republic. And when he tells his life story, you don't hear anything about being a victim. You don't hear anything about my parents gave me up. You don't hear anything about I was poor and I was taken out of, I didn't get to have an education. But those are the facts. Those are the facts of that person's life. It's just not the way he tells the story. He doesn't believe that's his story. His story is that his parents did the best that they could with what they had, that when they could give him more, they gave him something better. And then he came here and he made an incredible life for himself. And he has no regrets. Someone else with the same experience will tell that story from a place of bitterness, anger, trauma, and not be able to trust people, not be able to move on from that, no matter what their age is. I know people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s still talking about something that hurt them when they were 5 or 6. Now, we're not talking about something like, sexual abuse or some kind of, deep rooted trauma like that. You watch someone get murdered, something like that. No, I'm talking about being 50, 60, 70 years old and never getting past how your parents spoke to you, never getting past a broken relationship, with someone that you met when you were in high school or, in your early 20s. You're 50 or 60 or 70, you're still talking about that. And worse, because you don't realize the connection, you're still behaving in ways that are directly related to that. I saw someone today who said to me, I don't trust anyone. My purpose for being in her life was to help her child. And yet, the source of her pain was the way her child's father treated her and threw her out of the home with the child. And yet she's being really combative with me. And I was just like, I have nothing to do with what happened to you in your past. And if it wasn't that I knew the way to kind of reach someone who is not aware of how their past experiences are affecting their present, we wouldn't have been able to get done what we needed to get done today, because she was rude and it was 15 minutes of me putting up with this until finally I was able to kind of, get her to see I'm with you. But I can only imagine how many people this lovely lady, because she was a lovely person, how many people she's probably turned off, turned away, pushed away. And so she's playing this game of life like a victim. And she's playing it like an angry person instead of realizing that there are other people coming into your life who mean you well, who mean your child well, who can help you, who can help elevate you. But you have to be willing to give up the story that doesn't serve you. We all have a story that we tell ourselves. Our brain classifies um, every piece of information that we get from our five senses. That this is the way our brain functions in order for us to survive. We're wired this way. So, if you walk past the street where a couple of years ago you were robbed, I'm from New York, you could tell my analogies, right? If you were robbed on that street, right? When you walk down that street again, your body's probably going to tense up, like you're going to be a little bit more alert. That's just the feeling that you have because you already have had a thought. Oh man, I was robbed on the street, 5 years ago. I got to watch my back. You still have a choice in regards to your behavior. Do you not walk down that street anymore? Because that's a choice. That's a behavior that you could do. Do you decide to start carrying weapons when you walk down the street and now you're risking a consequence if you're stopped? Or, I mean, you have 100 possibilities that you could come up with. But what makes a difference is choosing the one that empowers you to continue living. You know, for me, I've always thought that you can't run from things. One way or another, it's going to catch up to you. So your bitterness, your negative emotions, your being a hater to other people absolutely catches up to you. People can't cheer for you if you hate on them. If you're a hater, you can't expect people to have cheerleaders, people that cheer for you when people know your spirit is a hating spirit. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Buddha, whether you believe in karma, whether you're just spiritual, whether you don't believe in anything, the reality is that what you put out in the world comes back to you. Whether we see it as blessings from God, or we just see it as I'm a good person, I do good and people are good to me. It's really that simple. And gratitude is the number one thing that will keep you from becoming depressed. They've actually done research on this. Gratitude sounds too simple to be true, right? Just gratitude, being thankful for what you have. So, if someone has something that you want, really taking a moment and being grateful for what you do have allows you to be happy for them. It does. It sounds crazy, right? But knowing, oh wow, my friend just got this amazing new house. I have a friend of mine who just got this house. Amazing. I'm talking about pool. You know, I saw a video of this house. My mouth was dropping open. And she does the exact same thing that I do for a living, right? Same thing. She's an LCSW. So, my mind was like, how'd she get this house? Like, this is an amazing house. I had, those of you that know me know I love nice houses, decorations, things like that. So I had a moment of house envy. And I actually stopped and looked around at my house and I said, you know what? I'm really, really thankful. I have a really good house. I've stayed safe during this pandemic. I have a great view. I have a lot of sunlight. I have quiet. I've been able to work from home. And doing that got me to the space where I was like, I am so happy for you. And I texted her and I was like, you deserve this house more than anyone. I can't wait to be able to go see you and celebrate this with you. And we're gonna have a barbecue. And it completely transformed that initial feeling, which was jealousy. It was jealousy. You mentioned, seeing someone, get certain gigs. We all have that moment, on even during this pandemic, we still are looking at each other's feeds, and some people have managed to travel, some people have managed to get married, to get engaged, have babies. You know, those things can provoke emotions in us, especially if we feel like somebody is getting ahead, which you mentioned, Peps. But the thing is, you're only in a race with yourself. That's it. There is one you. There's nobody like you. And at the end of the day, you can't compete with other people because they're even twins are different. And I can tell you this from working with twins. I see twins who have identical health problems on paper. For example, both children will have autism, and yet they present differently. And these are two human beings who actually share the same genetic code, and yet it shows up differently. So that will tell you that even in identical twins, they are not identical. So, in order to really get better at accepting stress, anxiety, just the feelings that we are all going through right now, we have to be willing to hold ourselves accountable, like you mentioned. We have to be aware of what we're thinking. We have to be aware of what we're putting out into the world. We have to be aware of what we're wishing onto people when they appear to be doing better than us. And we also have to be aware of what we really want, because we live in a culture that is about mindless consuming. So I don't need a new car, but when I saw the commercial on TV for the new blah, 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 I wanted that car. you know, we do this all the time. We don't need another blah, blah, blah. Whether it's another clothing. Most of us have more clothes than we know what to do with. How do you end up with 22 pairs of jeans? A lot of us have. Or women, how much we love our purses and our makeup. We just live in a world where we mindlessly, consume. We get more, 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 more because we think that, I want it, I have it. Isn't that the song Ariana Grande? I want it, I bought it. Okay, Ariana, but there comes a point where, okay, what really makes you happy? Even Ariana, the thing that I think made her the most happiest in the last year was she found love with a regular guy, a quote unquote nobody. He's nobody famous. She looks happier than I've ever seen her on her, Instagram or Facebook stuff. So, when you think about it, we're not that different as human beings. Tony Robbins always says that we have basic human needs, a need for connection, a need for love, a need for variety and growth. We're not that different. Whether, we're younger, older, different races, different ethnic groups, we all want the same kinds of things. So getting a new car isn't going to meet your basic human needs. How many times have you felt alone or felt down and you have everything that you need materially? Human connection is what people actually most need. And during this pandemic, that's been the one thing that has been most under attack, the thing that has been the most difficult to create. But it's also because we're used to connecting with people in these ways that are about doing, buying, and showing off. Again, I'm a New Yorker. What do we love to do? Or out in LA, Pep's, show off, show out, brunch, get dressed, look cute. That's what we do. So nobody wants to hang out at home quietly and do something low key. But that's what the pandemic has caused. You got to pick one person in your bubble to hang out with, or you have to do Zoom calls or other types of video calls. And we have felt like, well, that doesn't really allow me to connect. Yes, it does. Yes. If you make the conversations that you're having about meaningful things, if we stop trying to pretend that we're perfect and that we have everything together, and that, because some of us are also addicted to trying to pretend that we have our life together. Prior to the pandemic, there's a lot of us, me included, that would never have been caught dead on a video without makeup or perfect hair or perfect nails and so on and so forth. I've done that more times than I can count during this pandemic, because it's become about, okay, are you really trying to pretend that you're not in your house wearing, leggings and slippers as you're working? Like, are you really trying to make somebody else feel like your life is so fantastic that you have it like that? And once I was willing to let that go, I stopped expecting that from other people too. Like, it's okay. You can be on your pajamas. Let's just have a call. It's okay. Don't worry. And as I became a less judgmental person in those regards, I started accepting myself more. And that plays into the reality that the more we show love to other people, the more also we love ourselves in the process. Again, what you put out there comes back to you. That's the gift. So winning doesn't actually have anything to do with how smart you are, how talented you are, how much money you have. It has everything to do with the character that you embody, the integrity with which you play the game, and the way that you treat other people in this process. So, something as simple as bringing somebody with you to something that you know is going to elevate them, telling people about positive things like, this IG live that Pepz has been doing, sharing positive things. So many of us use our social media to share things that aren't really bringing up anyone's emotions. And in fact, they can bring you down. I've become very cautious about what I allow myself to watch. You know, People send me negative videos. I don't even open them. Like, if I know I have a few people that they just love to send those kind of things, I don't even open them. Maybe they get offended because they can tell I never comment. I never have a response. I don't want to participate in this. And so I will send them something uplifting. You sent me something negative about drama and gossip. I sent you something uplifting. Maybe eventually they'll get the hint. But we all have the ability to do that, to not participate in tearing someone else down. My hope is that by the end of this year, we're not going to have 50% or 60 or 70% of people still saying that their mental health is at risk. That we're going to have people feeling like they're mentally stronger, that they learned how to connect to other people better, and that they definitely learned how to manage their thoughts, their feelings, and to choose coping behaviors that impact other people and their own lives in a better way. So Pepz, I don't want to monopolize the call. If anybody has any questions, comments, if you have comments, let's go.
Okay, well, first of all, let me just mute you for 1 second because of the feedback that I'll get. So I'll unmute you. First of all, that was great. Like, guys, give it up for Madeline really, really quickly. If you're on Zoom, drop her a 111. If you're on IG, send her hearts, flames, like all the love in the world, because she definitely killed that. Like, amazing. And I wanted to bring in Madeline, not just because she's my friend, and we actually did a Zoom last year for the Latino community. We spoke completely in Spanish about Cambiando con Corona last year, and we'll be doing another Spanish IG live soon. But I wanted to bring her on because Madeline is somebody who first of all, we met like the last 5 minutes of like an 8-week personal development seminar, like 5-6 years ago. And it was like the craziest thing because we were literally dancing on stage, wrapping up. And then she was like talking to me. And then I was like, let's grab food. And then since then, it's been about like 5-6 years. We've been like the best of friends. And she's one of those people that in my life has been so consistent with her integrity, but also with her positivity, her professionalism. Like she's somebody that has overcome so much adversity in so many different facets of her life. And before we wrap up this call, there's a few questions that Madeline, if you can answer, that would be super, super beneficial. And I might chime in here and there, but these questions were specifically for you. The first question comes from Adrian, and he says, gratitude keeps you from depression and negative feelings more than anything. That's a quote, he's quoting you. Is there a fine line between gratitude and complacency? And how would you suggest we avoid complacency?
Oh, I love that question. Did everybody hear me? Oh.
Uh-oh, sorry. I had
Okay. Uh-oh, sorry. I had some mute.
So, okay, there is a fine line between gratitude and complacency. And the fine line is you have to have vision. You have to have a vision of what you want and where you're going. You know, just because I'm thankful for my home now doesn't mean I don't have a vision
of the home that I want.
I actually have seen it walking my dog. And it's a better house than the one my friend just bought. So you have to have a vision of what you want, and you have to also have a plan. You have to really figure out, what is it that I want? How am I going to get it? What does it look like? How hard do I have to work to get that? What kind of person do I need to be that I would actually be able to sustain that life? You didn't hear me say how much money I need to make. You heard me say, what kind of person do I need to be? Because there's plenty of people who win lotto and go broke. There's plenty of artists who also have been very famous and gone broke. Athletes too. So there's something to be said again about the way you are playing the game of life. So I don't believe that it's just blanket gratitude, you know, walking around, I love everything, I'm thankful for everything. It's about being thankful for what you have, where you're at in the now, and having a clear vision for where you're going in the future and what's it going to take to get there.
Perfect. So I have another quick question, and this one comes from Bree. Let me just find it really, really quickly. So one question from Bree was, how do you balance challenging yourself plus getting out of your comfort zone by having grace for yourself when experiencing inner demons? And then once you're finished, I'll add a little bit to that.
Okay. I actually have started visualizing my inner demons like gremlins. I don't know if any of you remember that movie from like the 80s, Gremlins. Yeah, why were we ever afraid of gremlins? Because honestly, they're like this big. They were not big. I don't remember them being capable of a whole lot of harm. It was more mischief. That's what they were capable of. And they had that horrible little song that they sung, you know, it just was a lot of noise. They made a lot of noise. And so if you think about it, our inner demons really are like that. They make a lot of noise, they get in our head, and they make us fear them. But the truth is, there's not really much that they can actually do to us. And so you have to be able to confront that that is the reality. This is a fear that we have that's an irrational fear. It's a fear of failure. It's a fear of looking bad. We are all so afraid of looking bad, of falling on our face, of telling people we're going after this dream and then it doesn't happen. And we're humiliated. You know, for a lot of us, we don't even tell people what our dreams are because we're so afraid that if we don't immediately start to become successful, that we're gonna look stupid. So we don't say it. And your brain believes what you tell it, particularly aloud. I know you talked about affirmations, Peps. Affirmations work best, not just when you write them, but when you say them out loud. Your brain, there's a part of your brain that gets activated by what it hears. That's why it's really important that you don't listen to things that bring you down, because your brain is actually impacted by what it hears, what it listens to. So you need to be able to tell yourself aloud what your dreams are, what your goals are, what your timelines are. And when your little gremlins start talking to you, because they will talk to you. My gremlins like to talk to me late at night, like when I'm working on something and I'm dreaming, they'll start with the chatter. And if I listen to them, I can't concentrate. Sometimes I talk right back. And I tell them straight up, I hear you. You're lying. Not true. Because sometimes they'll get real aggressive. Who do you think you are? That's a real good one. Who do you think you are? That puts you right there on blast. You think you can have this? You really think you're this talented? You really think you're so special? And when you start hearing that, it makes you really kind of go back to every time you heard that in your life. But the truth is, why not you? Why not me? We can have what we want. We can. People who have these so-called fantastic lives, 90% of them did not get it by luck. It's good old hard work combined with a plan, mentoring, yes, which Pep's talked about. We don't know how to get what we want. A lot of us don't come from families where we were taught on how to perform, how to achieve. So just because you don't come from that, go look for it. Do seminars, get a coach. If you have some more deep-rooted emotional issues, see a therapist. Get some coaching with therapy. But you need to have someone to give you a roadmap to success, because I didn't have it. I don't know anyone that naturally had that roadmap to success. So this is something that you learn and that you work hard for.
I just want to quickly add to that. Before I continue, if there's feedback, can you drop in a 222? I think I eliminated the feedback, but if there's feedback, can you drop me a 222? All right, perfect. So one thing about affirmations that I actually don't usually share because I never think about it, but one thing that I do with affirmations in specific, in addition to saying them out loud, is during my morning routine, I always do like a 10, 15 minute like workout. It'll be maybe like push-ups or sit-ups or a little bit of cardio. And I'll literally yell out affirmations while I'm working out. Because in addition to saying them out loud, your body retains, physically, your body retains emotions. And in getting that state of like getting fired up emotionally, once you start empowering that with affirmations, those affirmations start getting more and more powerful for you as a person. Now, part of the question that I feel like it's almost like two parts. It's almost like, how do you balance challenging yourself while you're still wanting to give yourself grace and experiencing inner demons? And I'm reading some of the responses to Madeline's questions about being scared of sharing your goals and being scared of the judgment and like fighting the inner demons. For one, and I personally, I do a lot of different things, but when I feel like emotionally and mentally I am not right, unless there's a responsibility that I absolutely have to do, then my first focus would be grappling with those inner demons where I can feel a little bit more stable if I'm really feeling unstable. So if you're struggling with maybe severe crippling anxiety and or depression, like severe, like Madeline can like really break down what severe cases can look like. But if you're really struggling with like just showing up as a person because of your emotional or mental well-being, like that is a different level of struggle. And that if that is you, then that should be the main focus. You know, I'm not saying completely drop everything else, but that should be the main focus, because you also can't pour from an empty cup. Secondly, for the person, and I feel like if you're on this call, and usually I know most of these people on this call on a personal or semi-personal level, then that is from my experience of certain people that I'm thinking about, that's probably not you. But what I will say is understanding what it is that you're working with or working on, like getting that clarity. Because one thing that I used to do is I would try to pursue my dance career as if I wanted to be the professional backup dancer, when in reality, I am the artist. Like I view myself as the artist with the music, with the dancers. So I eliminated the stress and the goal of trying to be a backup dancer when I knew deep down that is not what I wanted to do. So for a lot of people, we add, and myself included, we add stress by comparing ourselves to people doing things that we really don't want to be doing. It's like, not everybody wants to make $1 million in a year like I do. And then people are like, oh my God, you're working so hard, I should be working harder. And it's like, no, you should be working harder in conjunction with the goals that you have and the dreams that you have, not in conjunction with how I'm operating. If I inspire you, or somebody inspires you, or you inspire somebody else to pull up and work a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more diligently, great. But also there's certain things that if you don't have an interest in doing, and you don't have to do them, and if they have nothing to do with your goals, then why allow those things to deter you and stress you out? So sometimes that grace literally comes from taking a step back and assessing, like, maybe there's certain things that I'm doing that really have nothing to do with what I want long-term. Will there be things that you will have to do that you don't really want to be doing? Yes. As like, I'm sure Madeline can attest to this, like continuing her profession during COVID, where everything has gone virtual and remote, like, and because we've had personal conversations about this, like she's had to adjust to everything that came with 2020. Didn't necessarily feel crazy about doing those things, but she had to adjust to continue doing what she wanted to do. You know, so like there's certain things that will come with the journey of success, because I also feel like successful people do what is necessary, not what is convenient. But there's a lot of things that people do that really they have no business in doing, because it really has nothing to do with what they want to be doing. It's one thing if your goal is to become a multimillionaire, you're out of business, and then you decide to do an opportunity that can maybe help you meet that goal. Maybe that is something that you should be doing because it is supporting your goal. Maybe. But if your goal is to become an artist like mine is, but I'm here trying to be building up this dance career that really is like, could be a pit stop or maybe a detour, because sometimes you have to give up the good for the great. Maybe that's one avenue I don't need to be really focusing on long-term or super, super intensely. So that's one thing to like keep in mind with giving yourself the grace, is taking inventory of the things that you're working on and the things that you set out to do to support your goals and your dreams. And giving yourself that patience and that grace can only really come from one, working on your emotions, like, and not just when you're feeling down. Like, I'm so thankful, and like Madeline can attest to this too, is like, we've done so much work personally and mentally and emotionally that has allowed us that whenever we're feeling down, it's not like the down that we used to experience years ago, you know, because it is a continual process of self-improvement that you want to, I always say this when I coach people, is a lot of times when I start coaching people, it's like, you're kind of like at ground zero. We want to get you to like at least like level 10. So when you have those emotional challenges, you're not back at ground zero. Maybe you're at level 5, level 6, where you're still able to reason at a higher capacity, react at a more intelligent and conscious capacity, versus like being in ground zero. And that's why with these calls or anything that you do, like it needs to be not only just listening, but applying the information, because affirmations are things that are not new. You know, there's a lot of resources for free available to all of us. And these things are not new, but these resources and this information will only matter if you utilize it at the end of the day. Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this call. Before I do so, Madeline, is there anything that you want to say before we break?
I just want to say that it's a pleasure to be on this call with you and to be able to reach people that maybe, you know, have not had an opportunity to be in this type of setting, and to ask questions, and to get an opinion from someone who is a coach and also someone who's a psychotherapist. And I can tell you, most people, it's not mental illness that they're suffering from, it's emotional illness. It's not having learned how to manage themselves. And all that stuff becomes diagnosed mental illness, but the way to treat it is the same. Managing your thoughts, your feelings, choosing better behaviors, having a vision of what you want in life, stopping all this negativity and comparison. And what you said was profound. Not everyone is meant to be a millionaire. Most people don't need $1 million to be happy. They wouldn't even change their lifestyle if they were to have that kind of money. But yet, you know, people want fancy cars. For what? What do you need a $90,000 car for? I mean, really, a $40,000 car feels almost the same. But yet we seem to think that, oh, well, you know, I just want that. I saw it. Those are the things that keep you perpetually feeling like you're not living your best life. When your best life has to do with how you actually feel about your life, what you think about your life, not what you have in your life. Now, there's a lot of people who have everything and have committed suicide. And not that I want to end on a negative note, but you know, that's a big wake-up call. You can be extremely wealthy, extremely successful, and feel like you have no reason to live. So clearly there's something going on emotionally in someone who would choose that behavior. Okay, there were thoughts and feelings that were never addressed that led to that behavior. So I wish everyone on this call, on this IG Live, the absolute best. It is a pleasure. And I look at all of you now as family. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Please connect with Madeline on Instagram. Her IG is Latina CSW. If you don't have it, hit me up personally and I'll send it to you guys. But on that note, enjoy the rest of your week. For my traders, I'll literally see you on in 2 seconds. But on that note, take care and enjoy the rest of your night. Bye, guys.